What's up, sassy gamers? It is Season 2, Episode 47 of the Got Our Attention podcast. I'm here with Brian, Bruno, and Kelly.
What up?
As typical. Actually, well, it's not very typical, the fact that Bruno's here, but hey, we're all here, so that's good. It's a good thing. It's been kind of weird lately, right? Because it's been almost like 2 weeks since the last time we recorded. And if this is your first time listening, fantastic. We'll tell you about it. Now, and if it's not, then you already know what's happening. But as we announced last podcast, that we were going to be moving to more of a bi-weekly podcast and kind of doing this a little more, together and trying to work on some stuff, better content for all of you, the listeners out there, or viewers, depending on if you're on YouTube or not. So, yeah, we appreciate you to hanging out. And hopefully today will be fun. But that just depends on Brian's mood. So we'll see how this goes. Also, Brian got new toys, so he's like really excited about all his neat little toys he has now, which is pretty cool. I can't.
No more potato.
No more potato.
First we got rid of the button, and boy, that made Kelly happy. Or the timer, not the button.
The
button
timer
got rid of the timer.
I don't think we want to get rid of Kelly's button. I don't think her husband appreciates
No, or me. Hello, my husband. No, it's more importantly me.
I'm not touching that button. I mean, I touch a lot of buttons over here.
Oh, okay. So
the button stops there.
remind me to tell you guys a story that only our Patreon users will be able to hear about.
Get wrecked, other scrubs.
Sorry,
nerds.
This is how we're starting, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
We
I
do
dislike all of you equally.
We do have a pretty good lineup today. But before we get into that, Bruno actually has some things to talk about an upcoming video game he's interested in.
Yeah, I'm stoked.
I guess expansion, technically.
It's an expansion. So, like, if you guys have listened to us before, then you'll know that once upon a time, there was the Great Outriders saga, which was a game that had many ups and ultimate downs. And by ultimate downs, I mean, I got nuked out of existence on that game by the company that owns it called People Can Fly, who decided that their motto was people can't play our game ever again. Yeah. And broke all of my characters, shattered my account warehouse, and provided me absolutely not an ounce of any real support. So you ask, why am I talking about this game? Because I'm an idiot. That's why. Pretty much, that's what it is. I am actually about to spend $35 on pre-ordering an expansion for Outriders.
Wait, it sounds like the ex-girlfriend. Pre-order. It's like the ex-girlfriend, he can't just...
Oh yeah, I'm going to pre-order it. I did say I'm an idiot, Brian.
For those of you who can't see what's happening, Brian had like an episode there. He did. We broke Brian for a minute.
That's what I said. I said this episode's going to depend on his mood, and so far it's been great.
To give everybody the quickest rundown in existence, I played like 100 plus hours of this game, 50 hours of the demo, so 150 hours in total, and then they nuked my main character off the face of the planet, and then I made a new character, and that character got nuked, and then I made 3 more new characters, and all 3 of those characters got nuked, and when they finally recovered my account, I was able to recover 2 of my 5 characters, none of my gear, none of my account warehouse, and I lost all of my achievements. It was so bad that Steam refunded me the game, but let me keep it. And yet, here we are, 1 year later, and they're announcing a new expansion, or they have announced it, called Worldslayer. And I'm totally intending to play it. I'm pretty sure that Worldslayer is just their cute way of saying that they're going to murder all of our characters with another round of massive bugs. But they're promising me so much.
They have to reset your skills somehow for the new skill tree or something. I don't know.
Exactly. There's going to be like 8 new subclasses, 100 plus new legendaries, an entire new tier of legendary set items that are called Apocalypse Gear. And before, where the endgame went up to a tier 15, it's now got a secondary endgame portion that goes up to a tier 40, and then like an infinite evolve your character scheme. So I am stoked. It looks amazing. The guns look great. Everything looks great.
Hard drive
I am I am actually sitting here. I'm like, man, I cannot wait to play this game for 100 hours just for them to delete all of my shit once more.
So
A legend.
Weren't you so nuked that you were like naked?
Yeah.
Like you.
Yeah, you would open up my
everyone.
character screen.
In
and I would
IRL
be-
and in the game.
Yeah, I like in real life, I was so distraught that I ripped off all my clothes in an angry, fueled just rage, and then I just like ran around my house losing my mind. And it did nothing. It did nothing for me. I still have no
So-
characters.
Well,
Like
yeah, you get to
most
keep all your
days.
stuff in real life.
Like most days. No, actually, the developers sent people here to steal my actual worldly possessions. They like came in and they were like, "Yo, we're here to collect," and I was just like, "You didn't take enough," and they're like, "Nah." Expansion's not going to pay for itself, buddy.
I remember this so
God.
clearly that like, so for those of you who haven't, longtime listeners who may have figured this out already, we all used to work together, and it was like talk around the office. One of my very good friends walked into my office one day and we were talking about something, and like you came up in conversation about a legitimate work thing. We both were like, did you hear about Bruno's Outriders stuff getting totally taken away? Like, oh my God, he was naked.
As
It was,
HR
like,
walks by at the last
thing.
part.
Yeah, really.
It was a
HR knew about it.
all
I
of
filed a
us.
complaint.
Quite a talk of the town at work there.
I'll tell you, we filed a complaint with you being naked around the office for reals.
Yeah, it
I
wasn't
filed the
okay,
complaint for
man.
him being naked at home. Like it was.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know why you guys have so many issues with me being naked, but all right.
Because
Go off, then.
we
I
couldn't
don't.
tell
It was just, it was cold, and you know,
It was hot in some of those maps.
because we
That's
couldn't
true.
tell if it was one Bruno with two beards or two Brunos stacked on each other and two beards in two places.
It's
Oh
the
my
two
God,
Bruno one.
I almost spit sake all over my computer.
Wow.
I win. I'm done. I won.
This
No,
Outriders
we're not done
conversation
yet.
took a turn.
We're not done yet. You get back here.
Anyways, Outriders releases at the end of July for $35 if you pre-order it. The expansion. The entire
So you
game is going to be
too.
$60.
Or if you don't want to, you could just spend that $35 on us because
Yeah, you could do that.
You'll
I
get
mean,
something
just
out of that.
if you play Outriders the expansion, you could very well be a member of the greatest, and I do mean the greatest video game failure of all time, or potentially the second best redemption arc after No Man's Sky. Time will tell, because Cyberpunk 2077 has still not done enough.
Oh, and you
Oh,
did start
man.
playing that
Yeah.
again,
It
right?
did, which is not bad, but it's not great.
Obviously, he didn't want to talk about that today, so it wasn't that great.
Womp, womp.
Well, again, that's awesome, but it's gonna get
But buckle
Yeah.
up, Buttercup. It's about to get real.
pretty much.
Wait, I don't know where that came from. But actually, no, it is about to get real. Because this is a serious topic that's been hitting us for just over a week. May 3rd, last week, is when Bungie used social media to voice their opinion on reproductive rights. And of course, stirred up quite the hornet's nest on the internet.
What?
This was
Nuh-uh.
right.
People? What?
This was in
Yeah, no,
response
no
to
way.
the recent release of the draft opinion, which seems to indicate that the majority of the SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States, is for overturning the ruling on Roe versus Wade. And really quickly, that's the ruling stating that the Constitution protects a woman's liberty to choose to have an abortion without excessive government restriction. And that was, of course, the opinion of the SCOTUS at that time. And so they tweeted this out. They had the typical tweet doesn't have enough letters for us, so let's go to a JPEG as well. That's actually hosted on their site, which has a couple of good bits in there. Standing up for reproductive choice, not difficult decision to make. And they said, hey, if you'd like to donate, here's some places that you can donate to, which I thought was pretty good. They didn't say send us more money or buy our stuff. They're trying to enact change by using their voice to say, hey, if you want to make a difference, go here. So, of course, this got quite a number of replies. Some of them that were, positive, and just being the internet, fair amount of them that were negative as well.
Because we always have to poop on the good stuff.
Right. And basically, the whole...
We just have to poop on everything.
Yeah. The gist on this was, you're a game developer, go back to making games. Which I thought was terrible. Now, this particular reply, it uses the Trump supporters meme, and this has been used a couple of different ways. Sometimes this is actually people against Trump that are being sarcastic, saying, all the Trumpites are going to come out and say this. And so this could actually be legitimate, or this could be sarcastic. Hard to tell in this case. But if that were the only one, that would be one thing. But literally, you've got plenty of them out there saying quite a number of things. Again, you're a game company. You're supposed to make games. You should be neutral on political situations. Again, how about you stick to games? Stay out of politics. I mean, can you get a theme going on here, right? Well, that's where Bungie really got cool, because they weren't going to take it sitting down. They actually slapped back.
They went
so someone's like, was that?
They went full Wendy's.
They didn't really go Wendy's, but
they were a bit more professional about it. Wendy's, I feel like, there was like a fine line where you're still a professional business account, and Wendy's was like, yo, but what if we threw that line in the garbage and we were just unprofessional, and somebody up top was like, we're a massive corporation. Who's going to stop us? I mean, they don't stop us from serving people terrible food with horrible service.
Yeah, right.
I mean, hey, slow down. The Baconator is amazing. It's my favorite.
Listen, if Wendy wants to, she can come and fight me right now.
Yeah.
Great.
So,
added by Wendy's.
In response to
but Wendy.
In response to y'all need to stop politics, they're like, it's very relevant to our employees, so we're going to speak out. Someone else was a coward and deleted their tweet. And all I saw was the responses. We'd prefer to use our platform to make the world better for our employees and everyone. And it wasn't just Twitter. I mean, they were in Facebook as well. And I thought it was really interesting that one of the response was, somebody says, they literally said, we literally speak for this entire company. Well, yes, this is true. Because as a social media manager with the permission to put this, you are literally given the permission to speak for the entire company, which is a true statement. Not quite in the spirit of what the person meant, which is, I don't think everyone in your employ shares this opinion, which is probably true.
Yeah.
But they're both right on that one. So they actually came out and kind of jumped all over people, which was very nice to see. Since then, other studios have also thrown their own opinions into the ring as well. We have, like Hinterland and Outer Loop Games went ahead and dropped theirs. And if you're not familiar with them, then hopefully you're familiar with ArenaNet of Guild Wars fame, Guild Wars 2, and Double Fine also jumped in there as well. And for the most part, definitely for the bigger studios, much to the same responses. Both lots of likes, positive comments, and of course the trolls coming out from underneath the bridges.
I just love ArenaNets. It's just your body, your right.
Yeah, and
I'm glad that their ads have better writing than their video game stories.
Well, if you like that one, go ahead and check out the one that ArenaNet did back in June 3rd. Because while this is a newer subject, this is not a new thing that game companies have been doing this, regardless of what the trolls want you to believe, or dissenters, I should say. Because they, in June 3rd, had a really great post for Black Lives Matter. very good animated one, posted several responses. And again, very much the same response. You're a game company. You shouldn't be doing this. But the thing is that's one of the things I love about this country, that not everyone has the same opinion. And it's not necessarily right or wrong, that there's a gradient in between in many times. And I like the fact that people get to share their different opinions, whether I agree with them or not. And it's really the extremists on any side that really seem to cause most of the problems. I'm not here to argue one side or the other, but one of the things that I do want to say and argue against is against those that want to silence others, telling people you're not allowed to talk about that because whatever reason, because you're a game company, because you're a woman, because you're white, because you're black, because you're Hispanic, whatever. If you're telling someone they're not allowed to talk, then I think you're wrong. With the exception, of course, of hate speech. That is something that you really don't have a freedom of speech for.
Nice sound effect there for that. That was good.
Yeah, right? We got the riots going already.
Sorry, guys.
No, that was fantastic. It was great.
My background.
Yeah. So, those that don't believe that a person or a PR group or a company or even a government official's not allowed to weigh into things, that just seems wrong to me. Every time I hear someone say, you should just stick to games and not talk about politics, or, when somebody does that, all I can hear in my head is kind of that 1920s misogynistic men and women that were afraid of losing power. And they were saying things like, get back to the kitchen. Does your mother know that you're out? Women do the best outside of politics. These are actual quotes from posters. I didn't put that poster on here. I thought these ones were pretty powerful as it was. Yeah. What I would do with suffragists and literally tied to a chair, much like a witch. The man washing, like, I want to vote, but my woman won't let me. I mean, that's the feeble-mindedness of a lot of these people, both then and today, that feel that if they allow someone else a voice, that they lose all power because they're scared. And even that last poster there is not even a poster from men. That's a poster from women saying that, hey, we don't think women should have to suffer the way the ones in France and Belgium did, as they did, asking for their right to vote. And that what they went through, that not all women want this. Not all women want a voice in politics. A lot of us are happy where we are. That's true. Sure, because everybody has their opinion. But don't ask other people to be silent because you are afraid. Instead, maybe just talk it out with them. Start a conversation. Now, you would think that this would only apply to like political items, right? But no, unfortunately, we even saw that with Epic when they raised the $144 million and gave it to a number of charities to help Ukraine. Still, if you go and find that tweet, one of the top responses is, y'all know that Fortnite kept 80% of the donations, right? Which is wrong on so many levels because they weren't donations. It was their revenue from people, profits from people
Can
buying
I point out
stuff.
that one of them is literally no one plays this wash game anymore?
That's the one
And
I was
they-
looking at too.
They made
I'm just like,
$144 million in 2 weeks. Yeah, nobody plays
But
it.
nobody
plays
plays
this.
this game.
definitely nobody
Nobody plays
plays
it, man.
this.
Yeah.
Who
No.
plays Fortnite? It's just
Again,
kids.
Fortnite,
Scared little people
tiny indie company.
Yep.
that are afraid of losing themselves,
They're not even on Steam, bro. Like,
Not
come
even
on.
on Steam. What a bunch of losers. How could you play a game? It's not on Steam. Well, there was another launcher to play games on that gave
I
you
know.
free games on a weekly basis and hosted
I
the
know.
largest multiplayer online game on the planet. Oh, well.
So my opinion is that when it comes to companies having a voice in these matters, I much prefer that they stand up and speak out, supporting the majority of their employees, and not just the ones at the top. And regardless of what they are in service of, we do have examples of a CEO coming out with a very controversial viewpoint, and he actually stepped down from that company because that was his viewpoint and not more of the employees. The employees actually revolted against him because they didn't feel that represented the company well. So I much prefer a world where the larger voice of a corporation can amplify the oft overlooked voices of individuals that make up the company. Again, you're not going to be able to represent 100% of the people, and I get that, but you're going to get most of them. I actually think these organizations are obligated in this day and age to use their theater to champion the causes that their employees believe in. Again, they have this following of millions of people on different social media, Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and Instagram. Then use it to champion what your employees believe in.
Yeah.
Kind of back to the basics of the Bungie message of protecting women's reproductive rights. I will weigh in that I don't believe that myself or other males should set the laws telling women what they cannot do with their bodies.
Agreed.
That puts me more on the pro-choice side, obviously. But I also don't think that the government should be passing laws that discriminate against gender. That pretty much does at that point. However, we do have a wonderful woman on our podcast who may have her own opinion on the matters at hand.
So Bruno, tell us about...
Hey.
Bruno, the double bearded woman.
Oh gosh.
I also think that I should have rights over my own body. Thank you, Mike, for passing me the mic.
I mean, I agree. That's like saying that every man past a certain age has to get a vasectomy because it's shown that there's higher number of mutations and problems, birth defects because they're older. It'd be a similar law.
That's actually true. We can absolutely talk about that more after the show. But as the self-professed woman, I do have opinions on that. So the thing that I love about this is that, like Brian said, they were voicing their opinions in supporting women. So they were supporting women especially in the gaming industry. Women are still a minority. And this is on the heels of the whole Activision Blizzard stuff where it was not just women who were getting harassed. I want to be clear there, but on the heels of that, it's nice to see some Bungie jumping in and saying, hey, these are our women. We support them and we support their feelings either way. We support their right to choose. It's not years ago. I don't know if you guys remember, but there's a crafting store called Hobby Lobby, and they have always been very conservative and very held to their very religious beliefs. And they are a private company and they can do that. But they didn't just say, we don't believe women should not have abortions. They said, we provide healthcare to our women, but we will not let them use their benefits to buy contraceptive pills. So it's one thing to say, we don't believe that's right. But it's another thing to say, and also, we're now going to restrict this. So Bungie wasn't saying, and we're going to pay for your abortions. They didn't go like 6 steps ahead. It was, we just support our women. We support their right to choose. We support their right to their own bodies and their own privacy, which the original, Roe v. Wade ruling was about privacy. Nobody needs to know. It's between you and your physician. But also, let's see. I guess I'm still, yeah.
Along with that is, I mean, I'm okay with taxpayers saying they don't want to pay for something like that. That's fine.
Right.
That's not
Totally
what we're
fine.
saying. We're
not
just saying
asking you to. Yeah.
we're just saying don't interfere with someone that has a need for something. And if you want to put reasonable restrictions around this, which is what has been done for the most part, give or take, since Roe versus Wade, then okay, that can make sense too, as long as the people are voting on it and state by state, they make their decisions.
Yeah, and the other thing I want to point out is kind of what Kelly said is Bungie came out and said this, but what they didn't say was, which like Brian kind of touched on, is the government shouldn't have an opinion on this, right? Like this shouldn't be a government decision. That's not what they said. They said literally like women, this is their right to choose. So it's they definitely stood their ground in the sense of like, this is what we believe in. Not that, the government shouldn't step in and be able to say anything, but no, this is our opinion on the matter. So, and that speaks a lot louder than just like, maybe you shouldn't talk about that. Maybe that shouldn't be an opinion,
Yeah. I praise them for having an opinion. And, there are definitely other opinions, that I don't necessarily agree with, but can respect a company for, raising those opinions and making those opinions public. But the CEO that you were mentioning earlier, his opinion was not just his opinion, but it was like caustic. This is a positive opinion. So I think it was very well worded. And
we're talking about the story for Tripwire, the CEO that put out the Game Manhunter or Maneater. We covered that story last year at some point, but yeah, it happened like I think in November. He came out on Twitter and said something like, "I'm pro-choice, and that's just not pro-choice, pro-life, and yada yada yada," and like just came out and really out of left field and posted this on his own personal Twitter, and like everybody at the company's like, "What? Like,
what?
I work for that guy?" Like,
yeah.
And shortly after that, obviously he was out, but it's cool to see people have opinions, especially companies like this, because what's going to happen is the supporters that do agree with their feelings and their opinion are going to make them one step stronger to really believing in that company and really kind of buying in, really, trying to support whatever else they may do, kind of like Bruno with Outriders for some reason. But it's but yeah, it's interesting
because I like pain.
And to be fair, that's
and that's your opinion, and that's okay. We support you, Bruno.
I enjoy suffering. Makes me feel at home.
And to be fair, if the majority of the company is for pro-life, then I support that company saying that as well. There are some very Republican companies out there that are very vocal on stuff. And I'm not saying that this company is pro-life. I'm just saying that if you go check like the YouTube videos for Rifle Coffee Company, they make no bones about which side of the political spectrum they are on. They're like, some people think our commercials have too much skin on them, and they like rip the dresses off of the girls. And they're like, and maybe too many guns, and they're carrying around the guns, but we're veteran. And no, that's fine, because that sounds like they're voicing the majority of the opinion in their company, and more power to them.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what makes
it's kind of nice to see like it's like meeting a famous person that you've been watching on TV for a long time, right? Like you've seen them as an actor or an actress and you've seen them do their thing, but then actually being able to sit down, and have a cup of coffee with them and just talk to them as who they are, right? And them being able to voice their opinion like this is kind of showing that. It's showing they're not just a company with a name. They also have like people working there. They're not just robots, they're people, and they have opinions, and this is how it is. I mean, it's just that's life.
So to kind of tie it up, I just want to end with, so how do we as gamers respond? And again, this is my opinion, but really, I think we should support the game companies that send out the messages that we agree with, responding on social media and showing our support, being positive, and go ahead and have that discussion with those that may not fully agree, but maybe are willing to listen. And be careful. Don't shut down the voices of others. And most importantly, don't feed the trolls. If you know that they're trolling, don't even bother responding to them. It's not worth it.
Nope.
Unless you have the
You're
mental
just giving them
energy,
a
then you can
platform.
feed them enough until they explode.
I'm gonna leave that to you, Bruno.
We got to get him an account just so he can troll
Right?
people. Actually, let's never give him our Twitter because that could be bad.
But also equally importantly, go ahead and respond to those companies that you don't fully agree with as well. For instance, let's say Activision, under the Call of Duty social account, calls for legal action to stop the manufacture of 150 round pistol magazines, right? You may not agree with that. Maybe you're enough of a gun rights person that you don't think that should be something that is done. But you can still respond positively. Something like, hey, while this might help, I think that effort should be spent first on enforcing the laws that are on the books to help keep firearms out of the hands of those that are most likely to commit these crimes. And then probably post something that has supporting evidence from a reputable source.
That's key.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
key. In the end, we're all gamers. We are all trying to have fun regardless of where we are on the political spectrum. We're not always going to agree with each other, but at least if we listen and try to have a discussion, maybe, just maybe, we can work together on some issues and make this world one where we don't need to rely on a headset manufacturer to protect us from stray bullets.
Well said, sir.
Wow. That was good.
I like that you
And-
circled all the way back.
Yeah. And on that note, give us a few minutes. We're going to take a quick break and listen to a word from our sponsors.
And we're back.
Hey, that's my line.
Stole it. Welcome to Kelly's Corner.
God, you're just taking over today. That's fine.
I am. I'm just gonna.
I'll let you have a
violate.
voice. See, I respect you. I let you have a voice.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, guys. Do you know what parascavedecatriophobia is?
So you're afraid of three-sided pyramids in Paris?
You have the fear of Friday the 13th.
Oh,
Yes,
That's
which is as
coming
of
up.
the recording of this episode tomorrow. So I thought it might be fun to, Brian and I have a mutual love for this. So according to the Gregorian calendar, tomorrow is Friday the 13th. Got to be the Gregorian calendar. It will only happen on months that begin with a Sunday. A little tidbit of trivia.
Oh,
Yes.
really?
No, that makes sense.
Actually never
It
knew
does
that.
make sense.
that
So
makes sense. The only way it could happen, yeah.
yeah, every year can have between 1 and a max of 3 Friday the 13th. So this year has only 1. There's a lot of question around the superstition about it, though. So 12 is very prominent in many cultures. So there's 12 months in a year. There are 12 zodiac signs. There are 12 gods of Olympus. There is the 12th grade. You go through kindergarten, but first through 12th grade in the United States. There are 12 in a dozen, 12 inches in a foot. And there is also a base 12 numbering system called the duodecimal system,
Yes.
which I could do a whole Kelly's Corner on itself. So
There's
I'm
also
familiar
12
with
days
this.
of Christmas.
12 days? Yes.
And I
What
was
other
trying to
12s
get,
do we
I couldn't
have?
think of the 12th one out of my head, but it's the 12 drummers drumming. That's what I was going to say.
Oh, is it 12 drummers drumming?
That's what it said. I just looked it
Oh,
up.
okay, cool. Yeah. So what other 12s? I mean, we could go on.
I mean,
forever.
another big one is the 12 apostles.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
That's a good right
That
one.
comes into play. Thank you. So 12 is huge, right? So why is 13 unlucky or bad? So honestly, nobody really knows. So this guy named Donald Dossie is a historian, and he's the founder of the Stress Management Center and Phobia Institute. So he's got a theory. You know how I'm half Scandinavian. So in Norse or Scandinavian mythology, it says that there were 12 gods at this dinner and they were feasting in Valhalla. Do you know what Valhalla is?
Yeah, Vikings.
It's a Norse heaven kind of
It's
thing.
basic.
I'm very
yeah.
familiar because I've been playing Valheim recently.
Yeah.
I'm actually
He's an
going to
expert.
an entire Viking-themed wedding in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Awesome.
dope.
Oh.
Oh, if they have a
date?
rainbow road,
does your significant other not need you to go? I'm kidding. I would never. Okay, so Valhalla is basically it's I'll equate it to heaven, where heroes go. They basically get to feast all day after they die and beat each other up and fight, and that's like all day, and then they just do the whole thing over again. So
Today I learned that Valhalla is just another word for America, where people eat all day and beat each other up.
they eat and beat each other up. It's fantastic. We go
That's
to
more
sleep
of
and do
Golden
the same
Corral,
thing.
but yeah, that's fine.
They
It's fine in
feast,
America.
they fight,
Yeah.
I so want to see if I could get Savannah and her friends to somehow animate a skit where it's just people, Vikings die, and then they wake up in a golden corral. The doors are locked, and they can only eat all you can eat garbage golden corral food and brawl with each other.
That is amazing. That should happen. We need to get a GoFundMe for that one so we can get that going. Can we get a Kickstarter for that?
Oh, I love it. Okay, I am totally backing this up. Just let me know where to sign up. All right. So there's one god, Odin, and he's basically like the supreme god. And he had several sons. 2 sons in specific. Hodor. Hodor was the blind god of winter, and then Balder.
Wasn't he Game of Thrones?
That's Hodor.
Yeah.
Hodor. Yeah. This is HODR ish. Like, I
Hodor.
can't even go. Hodor. And then Balder or Balder. I don't know. I can't speak Norwegian.
Baldur.
Yeah. The benevolent god of summer. Okay. So they're all eating, they're all hanging out with those 2 and 12 other gods. And then Loki, also a Norse god, shows up. And he's Bad News Bears. He's a trickster. He basically tricks Hodor into like fighting against his brother, Balder. He says Hodor, Balder takes a magical spear tipped with mistletoe, which is a lethal substance. It is also the only substance that can defeat him. And then thus the number 13 was branded as an unlucky number because of all this stuff. So that's the very first mention of 13 being not so cool. Fast forward to Christianity and our 12 apostles. Okay.
I love how you just say fast forward to Christianity.
Yeah, well, if I'm really working chronologically.
1,000 or so years.
Yeah.
So the 12 apostles, you've got Jesus in his Last Supper, and there are 12 of them, and then bam, who comes in?
Judas.
Bad News Bears. Okay. So hence the crucifixion of Christ. Where Friday kind of fits in with all of this is that the Romans typically crucified people on Fridays. It was crucifixion day. Isn't that
What a party! Like, hey,
Start your
you guys
weekend
going
out
to crucifixion
right.
later?
I feel like there's a Mel Brooks it's like
Oh,
Happy
totally.
Crucifixion Day. Yeah.
Totally. You nailed that.
Yeah. So Fridays also no bueno.
Sorry,
And
I can't
then-
go to crucifixion. I got to meet at dinner at 6:00 at Golden Corral.
in Valhalla. Yeah. So we think that's the theory. That's where kind of all of this sort of came from. Nobody really worried about it until like the 1900s. T.W. Lawson is a dude who wrote a book called Friday the 13th, but it was about the attack, an attack on the stock market. So had nothing to do with crucifixion, had nothing to do with any faith, religion, but it was deemed Friday the 13th. It was the bad day that, really had a major impact on the United States. So that brings me back to one of my very favorite movies, and I know it's one of Brian's favorite as well, the movie Friday the 13th. Yeah. Cheers. So Friday the 13th, technically not based on any true story, but if you do any Google research and don't do subsequent research, there are definitely some people who try to say that Friday the 13th, the movie, was based on true events.
So
It's not.
If you only do surface research and don't do
Yeah.
subsequent research.
Yeah,
You said Google, not Facebook, but okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
True.
You researched Friday the 13th on Facebook. You nailed it.
I bet, guaranteed. But there was a murder that people do try to link to the Friday the 13th movies. So for those of you who have never seen any of the Friday the 13th movies, you definitely need to watch the very first one. The very first one is different than the others. I don't want to really ruin it for those who haven't seen it. Should I?
I think the best way to say it without spoilers is it was almost more of suspense thriller
Yes.
than it was horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the base of this, the very first one, was that there are these young, hot, teens. They are all going to be counselors at a camp, Camp Crystal Lake, and I don't think I'm ruining anything by saying that lots of them die. So that's just kind of public knowledge that lots of them die. Well, like I said, lots of people think, it was based on this actual, case where in Finland, Lake Bodom, several teens died. Really, the only similarities are that they were teens and it was this beautiful scenery. And really, that's where it ends. But it is very interesting, which is why I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it. So it was this beautiful, picturesque lake, just like Camp Crystal Lake. There were 4 campers. There were 2 15-year-old girls and 2 18-year-old boys. They were both couples, the boy and girl couples. And they were going to have a lovely camping experience. They were going to rough it. They got a tent. They were going to I'm going to skip over that part.
I love how you started saying this from the female perspective.
Yes.
We're going to have a lovely camping experience,
Lovely
because
camping
that was
experience.
not the male side.
Yeah, no, totally not. And especially being 15. But
Yeah, and the boys being 18. Holy cow.
yeah,
But anyway.
it's Finland. It's a little bit different.
Yeah, sure.
So, yeah, between 4 and 6 a.m., 3 of them were stabbed and bludgeoned to death. Not just in their tent, through their tents. One of the 18-year-old boys, men, I should say, Neil Gustafsson, he was left with a concussion and a fractured jaw and broken facial bones. He survived. There's a lot of controversy around this, though, because they technically never actually found the killer. So later that morning, a group of bird watchers or boy bird watchers, the young kids.
Watchers.
They were kids. Boy bird watchers, not adult bird watchers.
They watch birds and they watch boys.
Yeah. Boy birds, specifically boy birds.
Yellow cardinals.
Yes. Yellow cardinals?
More later.
Okay. Yes, we'll do that one. So they noticed like this bloody tent that was sort of collapsed on the lakeshore, and they were like, this is weird. And they also reported seeing a blonde man walking away from it. Well, which
never happens in Finland. I mean, blonde men, come on.
There's not a single blonde person in Finland. I don't know if you hello, Scandinavia. Well, they interviewed lots and lots of people. They tried to try several people, didn't have enough evidence. The police really botched the whole thing. And this happened in 1960. In
first
2000,
recorded attack from a wild incel.
So, yes. So in March of 2004, Nils Gustafsson was actually arrested for the murders, but eventually acquitted. So this is a very cold case, probably never going to figure out who actually did it. One of the guys who was originally accused of the murders killed himself in the lake, actually. So
I see the similarities between this and Friday the 13th already.
So there are similarities, but all the research I did was that all the directors were like, no, we did not. We had
no clue about that.
Yeah. So in once you watch the movie,
I mean, this is the 60s. It's not like the internet existed and like people could just Google stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
so
yeah.
Thank you. So the two have been connected, and I think unreasonably. But if you have not seen the movie Friday the 13th, definitely get it. Definitely watch it. It is cult phenomenon. And
I mean, I'll say I've even seen that, and I'm not like a horror movie film person, but yeah, I just agree. It's not really a horror slasher. It's I mean, kind of started that stuff, but it's more of a thriller, suspense.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of slashery. It is definitely slashery.
Well, it kind of started that, right? Like it's kind of like the
that
Halloween. Yeah.
And Halloween, poorly and mismaligned as misogynistic, which actually it was very much that it was put the power in women's hands.
Mm-hmm. So,
cool.
Yeah, Jason Voorhees. It is the main character moving forward, but you need to watch the very first one because it's different from all of the others. So, that's what I've got to say about that.
My only other thing is that in most Asian countries, 13 is a lucky number.
It is, yes. So
I like Fridays for the start of the weekend. So
it's funny. The first time at PAX this year was the first time I ever stayed on the 13th floor of a building because I didn't really think they actually existed because most places don't.
A lot of
13. Well, that's weird.
Yep. And I will say a lot of people who are very superstitious won't stay on the 14th floor because it's technically the 13th.
Yeah.
I did do, there was a whole bunch of other stuff that I could have added in, but for time's sake, maybe I'll keep that for something else.
So, obviously a fan of survival games. There's a game that I am actually looking forward to, which is actually called The Day Before, not The Day After, as I typed here because I'm an idiot. There's actually a game called The Day After as well, which is interesting.
That was my fault.
Well, no, I typed it out again tonight. Like it's a thing. So
I put it.
But no, it's funny. I looked up both games, and both games are now on my wish list. But what's funny about this game being on the wish list is it's actually the most wish listed game ever on Steam. Now, I know most of you are probably going that like I've never heard of this game, so how is it so popular? Very much a point. So if you watch the initial trailer that they put out, it's basically a guy like driving through, and it looks pretty. It looks very, very pretty.
Amazing.
And it's like 4K, ray tracing, all that fun stuff. And it's basically a truck kind of just going through what looks to be like a river, kind of on the side of the river. So it's not so much like underwater or anything.
Land Cruiser?
Yeah. And, but the game is basically set into a post-apocalyptic future, set into a post-pandemic America. So basically 2020, just with zombies. Which I guess you could technically say we had those too. So
They're called Karens.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this game is it's set for an open world, but MMO, which I think a lot of people have kind of hooked onto that, thinking like this is something totally new, but it's really not. Like you can ask me and Demiran, like we've played a game called DayZ for many, many hours, which was part of initially came from Arma, which is a military simulator. Arma 2 had a mod that they put out called the DayZ mod, and it was basically created by Dean Hall, who was an ex-Australian special forces guy or something like that. And he wanted to create a game that was very realistic in the simulation sense, where like you had to eat, you had to drink, and really just survive in the woods. And then later on, afterthought, they threw in some zombies. But the game actually became very popular because it's an open world game, but it's a massive map, and Arma is known to have like these massive, huge maps where like it would take hours to go across on foot if you can make it survive. So this game kind of brings in that same kind of gameplay, except it looks beautiful, and it's a new game, and I would say it looks polished compared to like looking at DayZ, which again, so it's in my heart. I love that game so much. I wish I could still play it. I just can't. I can't go back to it. For a lot of hours, I think it was like 800, 900 hours in it. It's just it's a thing. It happened. I can't go back to it. But for what it was worth, it was a really good time in my life. But it's this game had been wishlisted. Everybody's ready to come out. It was actually supposed to release here soon. But then they came out and released a notice the other day. They put on Twitter, they said, millions of people have added The Day Before to their wish list, making The Day Before one of the most anticipated games in the world. Feeling and understanding the great responsibility that we face with enormous gratitude in our hearts, we're pleased to announce that The Day Before is switching to the new Unreal 5 technology, or new Unreal Engine 5 technology. The transition to more advanced and adapted open world engine will make the gameplay of The Day Before even more fantastic. And then underneath that, in this regard, we inform you that the new release date of the game will be March 1st, 2023.
Ouch.
So not only...
It already looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So, not only is, other games like Starfield that they announced, and also some others that have been pushed out till next year. We also have this one now pushed out till next year. The only interesting thing that I personally see in this is it. Like I said, all the gameplay mechanics are there. It's something that I would really enjoy. Playing with your friends. You're out surviving. You have to fight other people. You have to fight zombies. You have to try to scavenge. But the way that they were kind of selling this is that like it's never been done before. And to me, I was like, that's the thing. Like this has been done before. This isn't unique. It definitely looks polished and more pretty than all the other ones. I mean, there's H1N1. There's been DayZ. There's been even some other random kind of games that have come off.
Look at all those Cokes.
I was like, what are you doing?
That's a lot of Coke.
Does
So
the
Rum
garage
Coke.
have rum in it?
Yeah.
Look, I'm sure there's rum somewhere around here. Otherwise,
So
where's the rum gone?
the interesting thing about the developer, which the developer is Fantastic, I believe how you pronounce it. It's FNTASTIC. And they've created a few other games, which have not been the greatest games from the games that I've seen. So there's Prop Night, which is kind of similar to a game that we call Witch It. Also similar to like the new Monster, or what's it called? Ghost Hunter Corp, I think it is. So there's that, but they've also released another game that's called The Wild 8. And after playing that, I was actually really excited to play that. And it's basically a game where it's like, I want to make sure I'm looking at the right game here. It's top down and very much a survival game, but it just wasn't very interesting. Like they had everything there that was great. It just didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
So obviously they've been spending a lot of time in this game. Like this is something that the most of, I guess, their studio has been pushing towards. And I can see if they want to take the time now to redo the engine. Cause I mean, we are already Unreal 5 is out. And by the time they get to release this, like, why not? Especially if you're going to polish the game a little more, that's fine. But
I'm just curious about the whole MMO concept around.
well, that's
this.
what I say. Like it has been done before. So I don't know.
I mean specifically driving up and bumping into a fence and knocking it over. So what is that now on the server instance and thousands of other people see that fence knocked over, or is this sharded out where like, oh, only 8 people are going to see that and the other hundreds are not going to see that? I'm curious how they're going to handle the MMO part of it.
Yeah, I would expect different servers with multiple capacities of players to be on the same server.
Sure,
I don't see it handled any differently than that.
Yeah, but again, it's the sense of scale. Is it only 4 people see that, or do 400 people see that change? Do you run into roaming squads of like oath breakers that are here to knock your teeth in?
Yeah. I mean, if it's much like DayZ, that is something that could happen.
I worry because just watching this trailer, I'm getting real DayZ standalone vibes where like they very much like showed the best of what they had to offer. But the problem is that their best of the best when the game released was like not an actual game.
So
this never happened before. I don't know what you're talking about.
Listen, Mike, I don't care what you say. If you say that DayZ standalone on a release was an actual full game, or even a quarter of a game.
See, I never played the released. Well, I did play the release game like once, but I played alpha like for 900 hours, like before 0.61, I believe was the build that I actually played. But
what I'm saying essentially is that the game looks very good, right? But really, I guess what I should compare it to is the entire trailer and everything they've shown gives me really heavy No Man's Sky OG trailer vibes. Where you look and you're like, wow, that game looks impeccable. Everything looks so great. The place they're driving through, all this stuff.
Right.
And what I worry is that with the studio that has a not so great track record, with something that looks this nice, that people are going to end up finding out is when the game launches, they're going to be like, oh,
and changing to a new engine.
Changing to a new engine. They're like, that scene where they had all those nice cars driving through the mud and everything looked really detailed? That was all totally not an actual gameplay moment.
Yeah, exactly.
But we'll see. I mean, they've got time. Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, like I said, I'm erring on the side of caution. It's on my wish list. I am not saying that I'm going to purchase this game when it comes out, just because that exact thing. So
yeah,
I would love to have another game to jump into with friends. And this trailer doesn't show it, but there's also a scene where they're inside the city and going through a mall, and like there's just like all like you hear a noise, and the guy starts hiding because he hears like other players outside, and they're kind of just like you said, almost like the Oathbreakers walking through, like just trying to find anybody to just destroy them and take their stuff. So. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but it has been pushed out to next year. So that's the game that's been the most wishlisted on Steam.
Well,
that's crazy.
That's the part
I had no idea. No idea.
Well, and I had no idea, and I'm into first-person shooters and MMOs and stuff like that. And I saw the article and I was like,
What?
how effective is wish listing? Like, I'm the type of guy that opens Steam and I get the decision paralysis, right? A paralysis, because I'm there and I'm like, oh, I got all these games I can play, but I don't want to play any of them. So I like look at the store and then I go through the queue. I'm the guy who goes through the queue like 3 times. I'm like, nah, okay, maybe wish list. Nah, no, don't care. Oh, maybe give me more information about that. Like, I do this on a regular basis, and I've never heard of the most wish list game on Steam.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
Same.
Well, I mean, I'm scared about how their algorithms work then, that they've never served this up where I could see it.
Didn't have to. It's already the most wish listed game.
They don't need you.
Yeah, they don't need me. I was like, okay.
No more.
God, he's leaving again.
Mike, I mean, if you want something to play with people, I got some games for you.
Oh my God. Speaking of that.
Do tell.
Speaking of that, tell us, I mean, I know you guys have been playing some stuff. I know I have, but yeah, go ahead.
You know, I've been playing some Cyberpunk 2077, right? So that's fine. But recently, as in like 2 days ago, I got back into it's like this really stable MMORPG that's been around for a little while, called OSRS. If I don't know what that stands for, it's called Old School RuneScape. It's like, you know, it's kind of
I
I like the name.
acronym like it's all super important.
But yeah, I've been playing RuneScape, and I'm actually waiting on a lockout right now to be invited into an Iron Man League, which means that I won't be able to trade with any of the other people in RuneScape except for the people in that Iron Man League, because there's like a ladder and stuff. Because I hate myself. We've already covered that though. And
That's
then tomorrow, I'm super stoked because in 17 hours and 18 minutes or so, the new Path of Exile League starts, called Sentinels. And
We've lost him.
All right, well, we'll see you sometime next week.
boy, oh boy.
Next month.
Yeah.
Listen,
There go our content meetings.
It's going to be awesome.
This is gonna min-max. This guy's gonna min-max to like a maximum O face.
I've already got a build planned out. It's gonna be a lightning strike build. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be a lot of flashing lights.
This, like, okay, and we're gonna go back into the way back machine here. So way back machine that the video on this is old school, low res, that people have like re-rendered it and like animated it. But Demurin is very much the guy who ran the numbers in the Leroy Jenkins video and said, well, I think we got a 68.36 repeating chance of.
Yeah. Anything else you've been playing, or is that all you hate yourself for?
I've been playing a lot of League of Legends, all random, all mid. Oh my
God. Okay, turn his microphone off. We're done.
I never stopped playing ARAMs. I've just been playing more of them lately.
Oh my God.
I don't play ranked, all right? It's not fun. People are toxic.
Good call.
What? People are toxic in League of Legends? No.
You know, they're fine.
Say it ain't so.
They're toxic in ARAMs somehow, too. You'd think that a game mode that literally has nothing that you get out of it, there's no ranking or anything, and the champions are random, people wouldn't be so angry, but...
And yet.
It's good times.
Cool. Kelly, you got something?
I have been playing the Mirrorforge demo. Mirrorforge is reading directly from the Steam page. First-person psychological survival horror game, which is totally up my alley. You have to solve puzzles, explore atmospheric worlds, survive horrifying entities in an immersive storyline where your choices matter. And Brian's significant other reached out to me and was like, have you played this game yet? And I was like, I have. And she was asking me about jump scares. So not a ton of jump scares. This is just the demo. Not a ton of jump scares, but as I told Mike, I got stuck. And he said, like, stuck like a bug or stuck like you couldn't figure it out? And I was like, stuck like I couldn't figure it out. So I think I'm at close to the end of the demo. And so I guess let me describe the beginning of the demo, where you're in this like warehouse or factory or something. You have to find your way around. You have to type in numbers on a keypad. You got to figure out, where you are and how to jump and get around. So there are weird things. There's this like meat wall. It's the best way I can describe it. I don't know if you've seen Stranger Things. There's like this like breathing, like meaty thing, and it reminds me of it. So you're supposed to be able to like cross between realities, and you see this person who's clearly dead, but like stuck through a wall. Like their body is like through stanchions and metal stanchions. So it so far has definitely caught my interest. Just wish I could get past this. Yeah, just wish I could get past this one part where I guess like I'll call it a boss level. I'm just kind of stuck. So I'm gonna get frustrated enough to get through it.
Just at the developer. That's all.
Yeah, WGF, dude. I will also say that the developer did like something that I liked, and I was like, oh, who's this? And I was like, oh wait, horror puzzle game? Got me. I will bite. Right? I am a fish, and I will take that bait. So it was worth it. I mean, if I'm gonna get some enjoyment out of it, it was totally worth it. So
cool. What about you, Brian? Did you play anything?
No, unfortunately, no.
The Game of Life.
I've
deep dived. I deep dive back into Valheim. I'm super pumped about it because it's been actually a really good time. I
hadn't noticed.
Yeah. So Valheim's actually it's still, I guess, is it released or still early access? I guess I don't know. The game was still great back when we first started playing it. I just kind of stopped playing it because I think everybody else. It's a fun game with people, like friends.
Yes.
And we're kind of just going for it and having like we're actually taking the time to kind of do the bosses together and raise my pigs. And I mean, it's a fun game. Go check it out.
Poor Bobby.
The other thing I did play was Slay the Spire. I literally had a key. I installed it, and then now I'm going down the rabbit hole of Slay the Spire. I'll give you more of an update on that in the future, but it's been fun. I liked it so far, so that's cool.
Nice.
But on that note, that brings us to the end of the show. So, again, thanks for listening. We appreciate all of you that are watching, listening, that are part of our Discord community or part of our Patreon community, or both. We also, love you guys for on YouTube watching us there. Main thing is to say is, we'll be trying to put these contents out, like I said, every other week. So every 2 weeks we'll be releasing a new podcast. And also, if you're familiar with the intermission that we did live, obviously we can't do that now because there's none of that. But what we're going to do is actually kind of replace that for our Patreons at the end of the show on certain podcasts when we have a lot more to say. Spoiler, today we have more to say on some of the topics we talked about. So we'll actually talk about those at the end of our show. So if you're a Patreon subscriber, you will get that extra content at the end. If you're not, then you'll just have to live with what we've said so far. But we don't have a cool name for that yet. We will come up with that.
The after show.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll come up with a clever name.
Oh.
So until next time, check us out, sasgaming.com. I actually have a new a new blog part. I said Mike's Mixtape. So I'll post things for some bands on there. I'll do music I'm listening to, and then potentially some interviews with some band members from different bands. I've got some things in the works. We'll see what happens. But until then, we'll see you guys next time, and stay safe. And any questions, send us an email, goa@sasgaming.com. Later.
Peace.
Cheers.
See ya.